folks, let's dive into the enigma that has plagued humankind since the dawn of the "you up" text. Why do I keep sleeping with him even though I know he's not good for me? Oh, you've asked yourself this question before, probably while staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. after another questionable decision. And I get it. It's confusing, it's infuriating, and somehow it's always a little funny in retrospect. Like that time you were absolutely sure you were gonna cut ties, and yet there you were, waking up next to him, once again trying to find your left sock. Let's break it down, shall we? Why do we keep going back to someone who is less soulmate material and more guilty pleasure wrapped in red flags? Let's dissect the comedy of poor choices in this lightly worded journey through this absurdity that is our human behavior. Reason 1, the unexpected thrill of bad decisions. Let's be real, he's your bad idea. He's a bad idea, but he's your bad idea. It's like that secret thrill of eating something that is absolutely shit for you. You know those carnival deep fried Twinkies? Nobody is under the illusion that deep fried Twinkies are health food. You're not like, yeah, I'm gonna eat this for its abundant vitamins and fiber. No, you're eating it because it's rebellious, deliciously sinful, and it makes you feel like you're sticking it to the wellness industrial complex. He's the emotional equivalent of a deep fried Twinkie. And every time you say, I'm never doing this again, you end up in line for another round because, well, apparently, you love a good thrill ride to the Department of Poor Life Choices. You know what's bad for you. Your heart knows, your brain knows, and even your gut knows. But your dopamine receptors, they are on a mission. And that mission is called instant gratification. Reason 2, the emotional roller coaster is addictive. You know what's boring? Stability. Okay, not actually, but when you're knee-deep in a toxic cycle, stability feels like the equivalent of watching paint dry. In contrast, this man is a non-stop roller coaster, and roller coasters are thrilling, right up until you puke or pass out from sheer exhaustion. But until then, wow, look at those highs. The rush when he gives you attention, it's like winning a rigged carnival game. He actually texts back and suddenly it's like, ding, 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 we have a winner, folks. Sure, he ghosted you for a week, but he's here now, and he's saying things like, I missed you, and the sheer drama of it all is intoxicating. It's like being on a soap opera where you're both the star and the audience. And let's face it, the heart-pounding unpredictability can feel kind of exhilarating, like you're living in your own trashy romance novel. It's all messy, all chaotic, but also a storyline you can't quite seem to put down. Reason 3, the maybe I can fix him fallacy. This one's a classic, the I can fix him syndrome. You're not just sleeping with a guy, you're embarking on a humanitarian mission. You're trying to take on the monumental task of transforming him from emotionally unavailable disaster to potential boyfriend material. Oh my god, let's be honest, this is the HGTV of romantic endeavors. You're dating a guy who is, let's be honest, a major fixer-upper. Somewhere deep down, you know that no amount of affection, late-night heart-to-hearts, or baked goods will actually fix his issues. He's not a DIY project, and you are not Bob the Builder. But the fantasy persists. You picture yourself in the final episode of your very own home improvement show, proudly unveiling a newly furbished man who now has the emotional maturity of someone who can properly apologize. And until that fantasy is shattered again, you keep going back, hammer and nails in hand. Reason 4, comfort in the familiar. People are creatures of habit, and toxic or not, he's familiar. You know what to expect, even if what you expect is mostly disappointing. It's like an old ratty pair of sweatpants. They're covered in stains, they've got holes in them, and they definitely shouldn't be seen outside the confines of your apartment, but my god, they're comfortable. He's the emotional equivalent of those sweatpants. He knows your quirks, you know his, and there's something bizarrely comforting about returning to someone who already knows your story. Easier to fall back into that familiarity than it is to venture out into the terrifying world of first dates, awkward small talk, and that dreaded question, so what do you do for fun? With him, there's no need to explain yourself. He gets you, at least in some superficial way, and sometimes that's enough to lure you back in. Reason 5, the illusion of control. Okay, here's the thing. Being with him gives you the illusion that you're the one in control. Sure, it seems like he's calling the shots, but the truth is, you think you're the one deciding to let him back in. You're the one who's in charge here, right? You can quit him anytime you want. You just don't wanna yet. It's a weird, twisted power dynamic. The reality is he's probably got more control than you'd care to admit. But telling yourself that you're just indulging in this one last rendezvous helps you feel like you're running the show. You rationalize it as, I'm choosing to do this, and that makes it seem like less of a helpless spiral and more of a calculated decision. A bad decision, sure, but a decision nonetheless. Reason 6. Chemistry. Yeah, chemistry. Not the kind that involves beakers and lab coats, although, honestly, at this point, experimenting with chemicals might be less hazardous than whatever it is you're doing. No, I mean, that sparky electric connection, that kind that has you weak in the knees even though your brain is desperately waving a giant red flag. There's a reason you keep going back. He's got that intangible summon. Maybe it's his smile, maybe it's the way he smells, or maybe it's just that he knows exactly how to push your buttons, both in the best and the worst ways. You know you shouldn't be attracted to someone who has the emotional range of a paperclip, but here you are, against all logic, still getting butterflies every time he's near. It's almost like your body has decided to betray your mind, like, hey, we know he's garbage, but have you seen the way he looks at us? Reason 7. You're looking for validation in all the wrong places. Let's get a little introspective, shall we? Sometimes going back to see him is less about him and more about you. There's a part of you that's seeking validation, and sometimes it feels like if he wants you, then you must be worth wanting. It's like trying to fill a void with a guy who is about as reliable as a screen door on a submarine. But even though the validation is fleeting and ultimately unsatisfying, it's still validation. And when he gives it, it feels good until it doesn't. So you keep seeking it even though the payoff is short-lived. You know it's unhealthy. You know there are better ways to feel validated, like through personal achievements or, I don't know, therapy. But those don't come with the same immediate high that a 2 a.m. text from him does. It's not rational, but hey, emotions really are. Reason 8. Hope springs eternal, even in toxic waters. Somewhere, deep down, there's a tiny flickering flame of hope. The part of you that believes maybe, just maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe he'll change. Maybe he'll wake up and realize that you're the best damn thing that has ever happened to him, and he'll get his act together. This little spark of hope is resilient, and it's a big reason why you keep going back, even when all the evidence points to the contrary. Hope is a powerful thing. It makes people do ridiculous things like attempt to microwave a frozen pizza when the box clearly says, do not microwave. Probably won't turn out well, but you just have to give it a try. And so you keep trying, even though your logical brain is like, girl, he's not a pizza, and this is definitely not gonna work. So what did we just learn from this story? In the end, it all boils down to the fact that humans are complex, emotional, and sometimes just plain foolish beings. We do things that make no sense. We keep going back to people who are clearly not good for us because it's comforting, thrilling, and familiar, or just plain fun. It's messy, it's irrational, and yeah, it's often funny, well, at least in hindsight. You're not alone in this. Everyone has their own version of the deep-fried Twinkie that they're gonna keep going back to, despite knowing better. Maybe one day you'll wake up, realize you deserve better, and finally put this guy behind you. Or maybe you'll keep going back a few more times because, well, we're all just trying to figure it out, and honestly, that's okay. Just try not to lose your left sock again.